From the river to the sea, Israel will always be.
Walk Palestine.
See Nardine, why you hiding?
Walk Palestine.
Nardine Kiswani, let's go. Israel is ours alone. Nardine Kiswani, where are you? You're a coward.
Other people walk by, listen as well.
Not another nickel, not another dime. You're daring from out here, just as fucking part of Israel and Tel Aviv.
You see, you don't go across there. That flag is there, but
They're gonna kill you first in Gaza. Go back to the anti-Semitic bodies across the street. Firing rockets. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. What brings me? You went with them. I know. they're crazy.
What is going on?
Free Palestine! 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 Free
Palestinians that continue to have their land stolen by Israel to make way for their Zionist settler colonial project that has pillaged and that has stolen Palestinian land for over 70 years and that continues to steal Palestinian land. What's happening in Sheikh Jarrah, what made the headlines everywhere, is happening all over Palestine. Every single so-called Israeli city was once Sheikh Jarrah. Every single so-called Israeli city was once a Palestinian city, whose people had to be kicked out, whose homes had to be stolen or demolished to make way for the Zionist entity. We have the solidarity of the people with us. You hear people honking, you see flags from different countries. People here from different struggles. different countries supporting the people of Palestine. Because although there are Zionist people who want to normalize Zionism and governments that normalize Zionist relations with Israel, we know that this is not the case for the people. This is not the case with the masses. This is the case with the corrupt leaders who speak falsely in our name. That's why you see the Moroccan flag here. That's why you see the Afghanistan flag here. But those flags that they have, flags that mark death and destruction, these are not flags that we want on our side. These flags, this entity, Israel, Zionism, is responsible for the deaths of countless Palestinians who committed no crime other than exist on their land. And Zionists wanted to kick them off of it. Today alone, Saleh Hamad, 19 years old from Jenin. Raed Abu Saif, 21 years old from Jenin. Amjad Husseiniya, 22 years old from Jenin. And Noor Jarrah, 19 years old, also from Jenin. They were all shot and killed on August 16th while defending Jenin against an invasion by occupation forces. This just happened today. So many times when we call a protest for Palestine, we don't know when the next martyr is going to be, when more Palestinians will be killed. But every single time we call for one, in the days leading up to it, more and more names are added to the list. And many times on the day of, like today. So we also want to hold space to honor the martyrs of Palestine. These 4 Palestinian youth were shot and killed by occupation forces because they defended Jenin against an invasion. And I want to hear you say their names. Saleh Hamad, Raed Abu Saif, Amjad Husseiniya, Noor Jarrah. While we remember their names and remember the martyrs who gave up their lives fighting for our struggle, fighting for our people to live in peace, free from colonial domination and invasion. There are Arab governments, there are puppet governments that do not speak in the name of the people that are normalizing relations with this very entity. Turkey in 1949, Egypt in 1979, Jordan in 1994, and the list goes on and on. In 2020 alone, Sudan, Oman, and Morocco also normalized relations with Israel. We see their desperation increasing as our resistance grows, as solidarity, global solidarity with our struggle grows, as we globalize the Intifada. We see them trying to save Zionism, trying to save their idea that Israel will exist all over our land, which is what they say. They want to take all of Judea and Samaria. They want to take every inch of our land, and they never lied about that. They never made qualms about that. We knew that from the beginning. After we signed these so-called peace agreements, illegal Israeli settlements tripled and quadrupled. They continue to steal our land. How can you have so-called peace negotiations? How can you figure out how land can be divided when Palestinians were the indigenous population that were kicked out in the first place to even make way for the Israelis that were there, that are there now? How do we have peace negotiations as they continue to steal our land, as they continue to kill our people, as they continue to maim them and cripple them? How can you have peace negotiations against one of the largest, most powerful, most brutal armies in the world, when we're just an indigenous population fighting against colonization? This is why we reject the idea of peace deals. This is why we reject the idea of two-state. This is why we reject Zionism in its whole, as an entirety, because we know all Palestinian land is Palestine, from the river to the sea. Not just the areas that we live in now, but the areas that our grandparents were kicked out of. As a Palestinian, I can't even visit my country like so many other Palestinians, because Israel controls our borders. Because Israel steals our water and steals our land. Because Israel needs to conduct genocide. Israel needs to colonize in order to exist. Without colonization, without the genocide of the Palestinian people, Israel could not exist. We know this. So we will never normalize Israel. We will never accept those who normalize relations with them. They will be in the dustbin of history. And we know that they'll be embarrassed. We know that they will be shamed for their actions, their terrible actions in history, because we know that we will free Palestine within our lifetime. And we don't need a trend to tell us that. We don't need to be trending on Twitter. We don't need to be in the headlines to know that. We see what's going on in Palestine, because we never forget Palestine, because we know that we will never at all achieve true liberation and true freedom until all of us are free. And that means until Palestine is free too. So no matter how small we are, we're still stronger than whoever's coming against us, because they are on the wrong side of history. They are in the trash of history. And I want you to remember, while you're standing here, the 4 Palestinian youth that were killed today defending Palestine. We also here are standing today defending Palestine. But we don't have to face it. We don't have to do it at the end of a Zionist holding the gun of a barrel to our face. The barrel of a gun to our face. So while we're out here, I want us to be louder than ever and remember those Palestinian youth fighting for, resisting, and defending Palestine. This here too is resistance. If people won't put us in the news, if they don't want to put the stories of the Palestinians that are getting shot, killed, murdered left and right, just for defending their right to live on their own land, we will make it known.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! Not another nickel, not another dime, no more money for Israel's crimes! Not another nickel, not another dime, no more money for Israel's crimes! Free, free Palestine! Free Palestine! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! And there is only one solution! Intifada revolution! Intifada, intifada! Oh yes, intifada! Intifada, intifada! Globalize the intifada! Intifada, intifada! Globalize the intifada! Globalize the intifada! Globalize the intifada! Globalize! Globalize! Globalize!
And it's not a speech, it's just an orientation, but listen to me carefully. When we're doing this every week, we are organizing and building power and connecting struggles. So it's not that we're just a rally and a march. 10 years ago, in Occupy Wall Street, there was less people. There were 15. But you know what they were talking about? Fucking revolution. Everyone feels it, everyone knows it. From the Palestinian liberation struggle, we're saying intifada. But in whatever language and whatever struggle you come from, those are our interconnected struggles. So when we're coming out for Palestine, we're coming out for Afghanistan. Not enough can be said with how complicit we are as human beings living here, despite being as oppressed as we are. And we need to recognize that standing up with the Afghan people is standing up for Palestine liberation. And we need to recognize that marching isn't enough, that protesting isn't enough, that social media by itself isn't enough, that we have to innovate, that we have to bring our family and our friends, that we have to say no to cages, yes to taking the streets, but also to building the alternatives that make this fucking government obsolete. Because there's absolutely no way for us to get free just in the hood without being anti-imperial. Fuck this US empire. Malcolm said it before us, the black radical tradition said it before us. Each struggle is coming to a head. And when oppressed people come together, they're afraid. So just remember when you leave, it doesn't take many people. It didn't take many in Tahrir Square. It didn't take many in all these places. But people take risks and speak truth to power and know how to say, fuck the police. Because there is no Palestine liberation alongside the police who are killing our brothers and sisters and comrades and getting training in Israel. We don't give a fuck if there's one bad apple or two bad apples. This is a system, and I swear to God, the only way to get free together is to reorient to each other. The idea of elections, the idea of it's okay here, it'll be worse elsewhere is bullshit. They let people fall off of planes, y'all. They demolished a fucking country for 20-some years. You want to tell me there's no Islamophobia there? Right now there's no Orientalism being treated. It's the same shit that they apply to the Palestinians. Look at these racist motherfuckers. They should be afraid. They kill our families and they think they can do this? That's the rage that we need to bring. But it just bring people with you. All of this is groundwork because the spark is gonna come from elsewhere. If it's not the 4 martyrs right now that move us, and it's not the Afghan people that we left abandoned, it'll be something else. But that time is fucking coming. So bring your friends and family.